Welcome back to ICS Land. So we are going to look at the IC packet. The way the game is organized, in the very beginning for each table we are going to have a board game deployed, and we're going to select one individual from the table to be the incident command manager, the incident commander basically. So we're going to bring him to the podium and we're going to walk him through the packet. Now we are going to show the packet to everybody in the room as well, but ultimately the IC is responsible for putting this into practice. So inside the packet there are actually three sections. The first one is the briefing component, which is in the form of a PowerPoint deck. We're going to look into that. The forms, which is a very important element, and we'll be insisting on the forms because from experience on running the game, this is one area where students kind of get very confused very quickly. And then we have the another form, which is the transfer of command, the ICS 201, sorry, which we are going to be discussing as well. So ICS LAN game night, that's the packet and the briefing. So in the game for the night, we have a scenario where there's an incident that happened at Madron Avenue as a result of an earthquake, and the CERT team is being deployed to handle that incident. So the advice here for the incident commander is look at this packet, and also when you go back to your table and start organizing your team, share that content with the team. So the packet will have the briefing. So again, you're being deployed by Sandoval DPS after a 6.2 earthquake in the early morning on Saturday, and you are being deployed in the neighborhood around Madron Avenue to handle the incident. The column on the right gives you the idea on how you will allocate resources. Now, recently, most of the table we had 8 people, so all positions are filled. But in the case where you have smaller teams, the logic is the following. You will first obviously staff the incident commander, then the ops chief, the log chief, logistic chief, the planning chief, and then you will give a scribe to operation, a scribe to the IC, a scribe to logistic, a scribe to planning, and a safety officer. So that's the priority depending on the size of the team. Now, in the IC briefing, we highlight the fact that the incident commander needs to think in terms of objective, and objective, we handle them in the scenario. So identify hazards, search and treat victims, and document everything, and be ready to transfer the incident to the professionals when they arrive. But you're going to have to develop the incident action plan as well. And the form, transfer of command, which is actually summarized here what exactly is required. It's really about having an overview of the area and the map, what was the response goal, what was the plan, and what is the current situation where you are in terms of hazards that have been found, victims, overall neighborhood assessment, and potentially open issues. So that's fundamentally, if planning keeps a clear picture of those questions all the time, the transfer of command becomes very easy. So part of the packet, you obviously have the map. So this one is a general map that gives you an overall idea of where is the area that the team is going to cover. And the second one, we've seen that in the previous video, this is the one that will go on the board with the magnet, so you can track exactly what's happening in the neighborhood. The second section of the IC packet has cheat sheets. So those cheat sheets are basically what every chief should have in mind when he's doing his duty, and it started with the incident commander. So on the top of the sheet, and this is common to all of the cheat sheets, you have the classic incident command system flow, which is fundamentally what the incident action plan is. You do a quick alert survey, you do a neighbor assessment, you deploy your search and rescue, triage is performed, and you have a medical area. And on the bottom part, you have the important element that each section owner should be thinking about. So for the incident commander, it's obviously the main responsibility about prioritization and defining the goals, the incident action plan that needs to be developed with ops, and safety and accountability. Then we move on into operation, which is about executing the action plan, managing teams, and set up the appropriate infrastructure. Planning, which is about keeping the big picture, documenting and recording, and communication. We don't do too much of communication or radios in the board game, but that's something that will become useful mostly during the drill or other exercise the team might go through. Logistics, which is about people and things, about logging and about having summaries of resources, and safety officer, which is about making sure that everybody is safe. Now, the last section of the incident commander packet is the forms, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the forms here because this is an area again where people get really confused very, very quickly. So you have the list of all the forms that exist here. Each section has a set of forms. And we've actually developed a workflow here, or a chart, that allows people to understand a little better what we try to do with the forms. So in the game, you have seen that the people are represented by blue card and the equipment and supplier represented by white cards. So whenever one of these came into the system, this is what happens. So logistics maintains 3 types of forms. The first one is a master check-in and check-out. When someone shows up and become part of the effort, it has to be logged into the system at the master level. So Sarah is coming at 10 a.m. and she will be part of the team. Now, Sarah can be then allocated to another section. So she could be allocated to logistics because logistics might need somebody to maintain the inventory. So then she will be tracked on another form as being responsible for tracking inventory within the logistics section. Now, if she doesn't stay, or if somebody else is required by another section, each other section is also going to have a form. So each section is going to have a form to check in somebody. So when a person is sent from logistic to, let's say, operation, that person will first sign in into operation. So operation does know who is checked in into their organization. Now, once that person has been checked in, that person can be allocated. And there's another form to track what people are doing. Because you might have a person in operation, and when that person is sent, for instance, to do light search and rescue, you want to know that this person is doing light search and rescue. You want to know more than she's just in operation. So that's the whole flow of tracking and forms. Now, the other thing that we track, obviously in logistics, is the inventory. There's a form for that. And the sections such as operation and planning also log the event or actions that they are doing independently of the people. So for instance, there will be a log to say, oh, we're sending light search and rescue. Now, by looking at the personal allocation, I will know who has been sent on light search and rescue, but I also know that the action has been triggered. So it is quite important that when the IC comes to the table, you look at this packet with all the forms, and you are going to see the forms that were actually represented on this flow diagram. So you are going to see the logistic master, the logistic equipment and supply inventory elements, the logistic personnel tracking. So if somebody is in logistic, what is that person doing? Then we go into the IC. So who has been checking into with the IC? The IC tracking personnel. So what are those people checked in doing? And finally, the events that the IC is doing. Same thing for planning. Check in, check out of people, what people are doing, so we can track them, know where they are, and what actions are being taken. Same thing for operation, people check in, check out, allocation and tracking of people, and operation log action that has been doing. Same for safety officer. So pretty important to look at these forms and make sure that each section chief has his form and understand what they are being used for. So, and I recommend spending at least a good 5 or 10 minutes to make sure that this is very well set up, because it's going to be during the game when we start dropping events. If people are not familiar with how to use the form, it becomes confusing very, very quickly. Now, finally, there is the transfer of command form. So that's a standard form that FEMA is using, and we are using this one here. So it's actually getting people used to the format. But fundamentally, if you remember in the packet, what we're saying here on reporting is that what you need to be aware of is the area overview on the map. That's what you do here. What was the response goal? What was the plan? And who has been doing what? What is the organization, the name of the people, and what are basically the actions that were taken, and what are the open issues. So Again, it is fairly important to make the teams understand that they need to spend the time upfront, between 5 and 10 minutes, to really understand the content on this packet and make sure that they are all clear on what they have to do and which form they need to use. So that's it for the incident packet. In the following video, we will review the scenario, and you'll be all set to be able to run the game.